Hi, Commissioner Rahul Chhabra. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see you in Nairobi in such a lovely setting. Just to get a sense, we had about a month back talked to the UN resident coordinator, Siddharth Chatterjee, also about the situation. So, to get a sense of what's happening in Kenya now, what we hear is there has been a relative spike in, say, the daily affected people.
That's right. Firstly, thank you, Amitabh, for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be on. In fact, today is exactly 2 months since we had the first case in Nairobi on the 6th of March, and we have crossed 600 total. And yesterday, yes, the figures for today have not come in yet. Yesterday's figure was 47. So totally, therefore, there has been a spike, but the testing also is increasing. It's over 27,000 tests, 190 people recovered, 25 deaths. The good thing is the deaths are still few, and still testing remains to be ramped up. So, but there is, the government has been very extremely proactive actually in sort of the measures they've taken. They imposed a night curfew very early on. So there's a dusk to dawn curfew on. They've stopped all international travel, of course, right up front. They were one of the first countries to do that. Movement between regions was banned. You know, there were 3 or 4 regions where it was. So while you were allowed to move within the region, you couldn't move between regions. So they banned that thing. Congregation, including religious congregations, was banned. Schools and universities, education institutions suspended. Wearing of face masks became compulsory. They've declared now containment zones, hotspots. The best part of it is the preventative side where the messaging, they've really got the messaging correct. Hand washing, public health, hygiene. So they've been focusing a lot of that and a lot of TV ads, public announcements in newspapers. So they've been extremely proactive. So the situation, though obviously the numbers, as you know, the way the virus
Yeah.
spreads, so the numbers will go up, but they are hoping to have it contained. Just
You're
to also
also,
tell you, sorry, yeah,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
also cover Somalia. So the
Exactly. So I
situation
was
in
just going to
Somalia,
ask you about your credit as ambassador to Somalia as well, and not much coming out of there. The deaths, though, are in double figures.
that's actually the total number of deaths. Yeah, it's gone up, and 835 people infected, 35 deaths, 75 recoveries. So the infection rates are going up, but unfortunately they have weak medical infrastructure. So and again, testing capacities are limited. So let's see how they of course have an added locust menace and a
Yeah.
civil disobedience issue. So we can talk about that also later. Yeah.
Right. Just coming back to Kenya itself, when we had seen earlier, you were talking about how strictly they were enforcing, say, the rules. Earlier, there was also an incident of firing, and then President Kenyatta had to apologize for a death, I think, that has happened. But communication, like you're pointing out, extremely vital here. But of late, I'm seeing something trending in Kenya, money heist. There's reports of in Parliament, corruption allegations of money that's come from the World Bank as well. So, is that a big topic in Kenya?
No, I mean, when projects of this nature in unfortunately developing countries happen,
Yeah.
so these sort of issues do crop up. The opposition alleges, some sort
Yeah.
of mismanagement of the funds and all that. So it's too early and maybe not the right moment to get into really
Right.
that.
And the
So I think
government is also denied it, saying it's propaganda.
that's true. That's true.
Right.
So we really don't know the truth behind the allegations.
About, say, Kenya and India, High Commissioner, now there's been both ways, Kenyans who were stranded in India, Indians or Indian origin people who were stranded in Kenya, who you've had to, through multi layered organizations and coordination, to get them or try to get them both back to their homes.
That's right. In fact, quite coincidentally, while we speak, just right now, this very moment, the flight, KQ flight, is on the way from Mumbai to Nairobi. It's probably halfway through. It left Mumbai 5 p.m. This time. There are about 225 people on board of that flight. Most of them are patients with their attendants and students. So we, as the Indian High Commission here, helped coordinate like lots of these guys. In fact, some of them are also iTech trainees. So they needed road passes to come because the flight only took off from Mumbai, and they were spread all over the country: Bangalore, Chennai, across Delhi. So they needed road passes. They also, some of them flew, of course. They were in the Indigo flight that was coming in and bringing them in. Also, there was an issue of testing before they took the flight. So again, the Indian High Commission had to intervene. to sort of facilitate that. So we helped in that case, and we are very happy that this flight is taken off and it's doing well. Coming to the part about the Kenyans, the Indians who are here,
Yeah.
so that we were able to anticipate very much in time that these people would get sort of stranded here. So we, by end of March, we had started registration procedures. So anybody who comes from a WhatsApp, a WhatsApp email was immediately responded to. We were able to have a 24-hour helpline. The communication is again extremely important. So we've been responding with really trying to reassure and give them, confidence building sort of measures. So that's what we were doing. But to tell you quite some interesting other instances of what
Yep.
has happened. For example, just a few days back, I was telling you about Somalia. So just
Mhm.
picking off on that, there was a gentleman held up in Garowe in Puntland state. Uh, I luckily have visited that province just 2 months back before this thing broke. So I was able to establish a sort of a friendship group and all that. On my return now, last week I heard that there was one gentleman there who was feeling extremely lonely and really depressed and suicidal tendencies and stuff like that. So luckily I was able to get activated, the president of this friendship group, get him to go there, visit him, give him some money, give him some food, talk to him, reassure him. So, so these sort of, and no High Commissioner sort of ambassador had been to this province before because the area is under sort of civil war situation. So, some visiting Somalia. The other instance I wanted to mention was another Indian soldier actually in South Sudan.
Mhm.
So he's based, we have a army contingent there, as
Yeah.
you're aware.
Two
So
in
he
bad
was on
one
his
in
way.
bad.
Exactly. So from Nairobi to Juba, he was on the flight. By the time he landed in Juba, they closed the airspace. They said, you can't get off. He came back to Nairobi. Kenya had closed his airspace and India had closed his airspace. So he was literally in no man's land. I mean, he was at the airport and he couldn't get out. So we had to sort of intervene, get out. He's still, by the way, in Nairobi. So we are sort of looking after him and he's there. He was in quarantine and it's been now several weeks. So he's there. So like that, another case from Malawi, there was a guy who's coming. So lots of places where the High Commission had intervened. I've actually done
Right.
a conference Skype call with the community leaders
Mhm.
across Kenya, 25 of them, trying to get sort of, the common best practices that they have all undertaken during this pandemic. So each of them can share what they're doing and they could sort of pick up from there. For example, the gurudwaras actually are
Yeah.
giving 400 hot meals and over 150 dry rations every day, just one gurudwara in Nairobi. And there are over 20 gurudwaras in Kenya. The Hindu community, and they have a lot of branches, they are distributing hand sanitizers, 20,000 liters to the public,
Wow.
50,000 liters to the police personnel, and they've donated booths, those sort of
Yeah.
fumigation booths, yeah,
Yeah.
the actual booths. So they've done. Then another one in Nakuru, another town there, they fed 4,000 families last month. So the Hindu, similarly the overseas Indians, the OCI
Mhm.
card holders and the
Yeah.
expatriate the community here, they are
So give us
donating
an
quite.
idea of the numbers in terms of Indians and overseas community in Kenya.
Yes, I should have told you that upfront. It's 20,000 Indian passport holders,
Right.
20,000, 60,000 OCI card holders. And the stranded Indians in Nairobi alone and its environs is about 200, little over 200, 165 in Mombasa, which is a port town in Kenya, and about 13 in Somalia. So that is the stranded Indians.
The other cooperation that we've seen is after the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar spoke to the cabinet minister in the cabinet secretary in the foreign ministry, Madam Momomo there, and HCQ, which is in such great demand all over the world, was cleared. HIV medicines, other assistance from India as well, right?
That's right. So, firstly, during that phone call, Dr. Jaishankar sort of reassured her of our commitment, our solidarity with Kenya. So, that was very reassuring to the minister here. And immediately on the phone itself, it was agreed that the Kenyan request for hydroxychloroquine tablets
Mhm.
will be approved, and it was on the banned list, and that was a one-time approval for sort of export of that. In addition to that, there are other APIs that they've asked for. So we are giving that. They wanted chlorine for
Water.
for water cleaning. So we are giving that. They also want, in fact, the FAO had a shipment of pesticides that was locked. That was sort of held up because of the lockdown. So we needed to get that cleared, and we got that cleared. So the collaboration is not only in terms of medicines, those pesticides, and then another interesting one is this factory called Rivatex, which has just been completely revitalized. It's the largest textile factory in East Africa. $30 million Indian government of Exim Bank line of credit. It is now making hundreds and thousands of masks every day. So that factory is sort of being used for that. So this thing is, the other thing, since you're talking of medicines, there's a consignment of HIV medicines, which is promised and has been coming in tranches. That has just arrived just a few days back. Over $1.5 million worth of HIV medicine. So there's a lot of collaboration.
And there's also training through iTech of medical staff in Kenya, right?
That's right. That's a new initiative which we are doing online, e-iTech, and we have spread it not only in Kenya, even in Somalia, because it's so critical. And this is not just medical staff, it's COVID-related training. So it is actually specific. And these webinar, it's a 1-week training per capsule, and it's getting a lot of traction here. So Kenyans and Somalis are logging in. But more than that, looking at the medium term, we have a system called e-Arogya Bharati, linking the Indian hospitals with the Kenyan hospitals and the Somali hospitals by online satellite links. So we are looking at that coming up very soon, and then we'll be able to take that further.
So I've already addressed you as a High Commissioner. I've already addressed you as an ambassador to Somalia. Also, congratulations. You'll be the Secretary of Economic Relations as well. When do we expect you back home, sir?
I was told that they want me back as soon as possible. And I said, look, there are no flights. What am I going to do? So, I mean, I don't know, half in jest or half seriously, I was told, look, you better get onto one of those evacuation flights that are going to be going. So okay. I might actually land up on that.
Right. And just to take from your experience in Kenya, that you will bring back to this role, and of course, around the globe in terms of ER. 2015, the Africa Summit. It's scheduled again in 2020. We're not sure when. The Prime Minister visited in 2016, President Kenyatta in 2017. Overall, the focus on Asia, I beg your pardon, India's focus on Africa, 18 new missions being set up there. That's extremely crucial, right?
That's right. Though Africa has never really been a neglected continent, so you can't say that it's just a refocus. Sort of, getting the mind back on track in that sense. So this is very critical because many other of the big countries, the P5 countries, all have their missions. Firstly, as you mentioned, 18 missions. So they're all present there. And really, we can see that anywhere in the world in global diplomacy, if you don't have boots on the ground, I mean, people don't really take you that seriously. So you really need to be there, exercise your presence, make your contacts. I mean, that's what diplomacy is about. So long distance, it really can't work. I mean, we can do a Skype call like this once in a while, but it's nice, Amitabh, to see you face to face, and then, we'll be able to catch up.
Hopefully, we'll do that very soon, sir. But again, when you're talking about Africa and how India is playing a role there in terms of the training slot, thousands of training slots that are there, military cooperation that is also happening, would it be fair to say that the difference in what India is doing in Africa vis-a-vis others is that we give them what they want, as in it's demand driven, and there are no conditionalities unlike others.
That's very well put. I think you've summed it up. You've taken the words from me. So that's traditionally our style. Not only with Africa, with all over the world. I mean, our aid programs in our neighborhood and all that, the small development projects and all. So it's really the country that's receiving it. It's what they require. We would not like to be like, a big brother or sort of trying to dictate what we want to give them. What do you want? And we'll see how best we can meet your requirements. So that's how we look at it. And of course, I mean, it's from pure friendship, sharing, so there is no really ulterior motivation to this. So there are no conditionalities attached, very liberal terms, very often there are grants. So it's a very sort of nice sort of cooperation, which I think the countries who are receiving it also feel very comfortable in receiving that sort of, it may not be that large, it may not be that sort of, very flashy, but on the other hand, it's substantive, it's training, it's like trying to teach a man how to fish. So, so you're actually giving him the, that sort of skills. So that's very important in our collaboration, in our economic diplomacy.
So it's a classical economic lesson. You don't give a hungry man a fish, you teach him how to fish. High
Exactly.
Commissioner, Ambassador, and Secretary of Economic Relations designate Rahul Chhabra, thank you so much for speaking with us. And of course, we'll catch up with you once you're back.
Look forward to that, Amitabh. Thank you.
Thanks.